Her heptathlon silver medal after testing positive for a banned steroid.
Hey, is Taekwondo the one where they have sticks?
Taekwondo's the one where you've got pads and you've got to smack each other on the pads.
Oh, right. So it's not the one where they have the big stick and the mask.
That's fencing.
No, I can reckon... No, it's stick. It's a Japanese sport. They have a big stick.
All right.
I don't know what it's called. Doesn't matter. Thank you very much. You've been a great help.
BBC Radio Manchester. Satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
Well, you can't expect it to be completely dry today because we are at risk of 1 or 2 showers, particularly as you head into the afternoon. But all things considered, it is one of the more settled days of the week. And I think from time to time you will see maybe an hour of sunshine here and there. The winds are light, your top temperature, it's not wonderful, it's 19 Celsius.
What's the one with the stick called? Is that Indian?
Grandstons belong to Beswick.
Allan Beswick. BBC Radio Manchester.
Does anyone know? There is, isn't there? They have, like, judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, and then they have a load of others that no one really knows but one of you. The occasional leisure centre will have courses in it and all that, but there's one where they wear a mask. They look quite scary, if the truth be told. They wear a mask, and they each have a big stick. I think it's made of bamboo, because they've loads of that in Japan. Loads of bamboo. I don't know why, they just seem to like it there, bamboo. But they have loads of that. And they have a stick each, and they have to try and hit one another. I do know that fencing's a kind of stick. That's a metal stick. We tend to call it a sword. And I know they have the épée. Yeah, that in Liverpool, if you're having an épée, you're going mad because you cross. And then they have the sabre. And then they have another one. I don't know why I'm bothered with this. But what's the one with the stick called, where they have a big bamboo... It's quite a big stick, and they hit one another with it. Well, I think that's the objective. I'm not... I'm not fully informed on the matter, as you may know. Right, so if it's not that, then what is Taekwondo? Sounds a bit like Ken Dodd, doesn't it? It's a bit scary. I mentioned that I was in Sainsbury's and they had on offer an Amy Winehouse CD for £3.99. I liked the last one, so I thought, well, £3.99, you can't go wrong. You can. God almighty. It was dreadful. Dreadful. I appreciate it was her some years ago, at the beginning of her trade, the beginning of her professional life, and frankly, she demonstrated amply that she had quite a lot to learn. Oh yes, quite a lot to learn. However, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Plenty wrong with the LP. The LP was rubbish. And did you notice the name of the solicitor representing Gary Glitter? Gary Glitter says, I'm innocent. His solicitor's called Corker. And let's face it, Gary Glitter, I'm innocent. That really is a corker, isn't it? Gary Glitter, innocent. No, you're not, you dirty get. You're a vile slime ball.
Tomorrow afternoon from 1, BBC Radio Manchester takes to the streets for the fantastic Manchester Pride Parade.
Anthony Craig.
I'll take you to the heart of the biggest carnival in Manchester as over 70 outrageous floats make their way through the streets alongside hundreds of fabulous marchers. Thousands of spectators turn out in the rainbow of colour and cacophony of sound that is the Pride Parade. And you can join them on BBC Radio Manchester DAB Digital Radio.
Celebrating 18 years of Manchester Pride. From 1 o'clock tomorrow at BBC Radio Manchester DAB Digital Radio.
A very good day to you. Kevin in Bury. Hiya, Kevin.
Hello, Alan. I think the sport you're after is Aikido.
Hey, well, it's nearly the same then, isn't it? It sounds a bit like it. Doesn't it? That sounds a bit like Taekwondo, Aikido.
Well, it might be. Listen, I want to alter the words to one of Gary Glitter's classic songs.
Go on.
And it's, I want to be in Thailand. I want to be in Thailand, oh yeah. I'm a pedo. I'm a leader of the gang, I am.
Oh, very good. Very, very good. I enjoyed that. However disgusting it might be. That was brilliant. Well, you've worked hard at that and you deserve a round of applause.
And if he doesn't like that one, Alan, he can sing Baby Love by Supremes, can't he?
No, we're getting into realms where they're uncomfortable.
All right, Alan.
But he could. Good on you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin in Bury said Aikido, not Taekwondo, Aikido. What do they do, though, in the Aikido? Apart from, as I say, attempt to hit each other with sticks and wear a mask, which is quite scary. Seeing as how we're doing the crap and tasteless gags, let's do this one. Alan, I think I've got the solution to the impasse concerning city owner Thaksin Shinawatra and child sex fiend Gary Glitter. These are difficult grounds, aren't they? Both appear to be fighting repatriation by their respective governments. I say we could solve this situation with a tit-for-tat deportation deal. Then Glitter takes over as Eastland Supremo, while Taxi might earn a crust as a Glitter tribute band in Bangkok, in a karaoke bar. Yeah, the only thing wrong with that is that... well, that was Derek in Lee. That's not the only thing wrong with it. The only thing wrong with that is that I don't think we were seeking repatriation of Glitter. I don't think we wanted him, to be frank. I think the problem is we're the only lot that have got to have him. Exactly. But it's okay, because he's told us now he's innocent, so it's all right now. All's forgiven, let him get on with his life. Because the good news is he'll never grow his hair back. Alec in Bury. Hi, Alec.
Good afternoon, Mr. Beswick.
Good afternoon, sir.
The sport that you're after is kendo.
Kendo?
Kendo.
He said it was Aikido.
Aikido is a Japanese martial art that is basically locks and throws. Kendo is the stick that you're after is called a shinai. It's a bamboo-like sword, a training sword, and it's basically the safe form of fighting with samurai swords.
All right, because that'd be quite...
Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's not a good sport, is it? If you're not very good at it, you're not going to last long.
No. It's basically it was devised and invented by the samurai to basically train.
Right. So kendo. And how do you get points with that? Presumably, who it's the most and the hardest.
Well, you strike to the head, you strike to the forearms, the shoulders, the chest, that type of thing. It's basically. Similar to like any other martial arts, like karate, taekwondo. Taekwondo comes from Korea. It's a Korean karate. Aikido was invented about 120 years ago, and kendo's been done for...
All right, well, what's Aikido? Because Kevin got kendo and Aikido mixed up. So what's Aikido?
Aikido is very similar to judo. It was invented by a guy called Shiba.
Was he a queen?
Pardon?
Was he a queen?
No.
I've heard of Queen of Sheba.
It's basically throws and things like that.
Right. Kendo's the one with the sticks.
It's the one with the sticks, and they're called shinai.
Okay. Well, I'm fully informed now. Thank you. How do you know all that?
I used to do martial arts for a long time.
Ah, right. And did you do the stick one?
Yes.
Did you? Was it any good?
Better at karate.
All right, well, I apologise if I've offended you in any way.
No, you haven't. No.
Have a good day, Alex.
All right. See you later, love. Bye-bye.
And that is confirmed, I say confirmed, but that is reinforced by Aaron, who says the name you're looking for is Kendo. So there we are, we're all sorted out now. And apparently Kendo is not in the Olympics. I don't know why. I've no idea why. How does one get picked and one not get picked? No idea at all. I suppose the ones that get picked are the ones that the home nations are very, very good at. Yeah, so, well, we'll be all right next year because we're quite good at a lot now. We're quite good at bike riding and swimming. And we've even managed to do a little bit of running, but not until we've missed a few drugs tests. So we obviously, if we're going to do running again, we'll have to make sure that we don't... What we need to do for all our track, is that what they call it, our track eventers, is agree together between us that come the 1st of January, we won't buy any of them a diary. Yeah, because that'll be good, that'll help. Well, it helped that other lady, didn't it? 0161 228 2255. David says this. I know we have a lot of Davids, I'm sorry about that, but there you are, what can I do? It's obviously a popular name. But David says this, Darwin, I think that's referring to the man rather than the place in Australia. Darwin We developed through years untold to what we are now. It seems to me, says David, that we can only choose to believe in that or in religion. I have no doubt that religion has provided hope and comfort for the peoples of the past. This is the time for people to choose between whether we're just a minuscule speck on this universe destined for nothing, or whether we are what that universe was designed to produce. After all, even looking at science, it's like winning the lottery and then winning it again, the chance that we're here. It could, of course, be some sort of computer game that gives you free choice to be what oneself is. In any case, in this life, one can choose what one believes. If you suffer this world, it will be heaven to leave it. If you do what is right, heaven is yours. If you lay down your life for another, you were there. If you only take for yourself from humanity, then I'm sorry for you, for the end is coming to all of us. If you seek to hurt another, you will find hell. The human race has found a way of defying Darwin. Do you think it's the right way? Well, David, those who believe in the or who are predisposed to believe in the design theory that the whole of the world and all its creatures and the universe was designed by a super being which is generally referred to as God, then you don't have a choice. That's what you believe. You don't really get a choice in what you believe. Belief isn't like... Well, I'm talking about your belief system rather than do you believe whether Gary Glitter is guilty or not. Well, that's a belief. You can make a decision on that. That's a choice. But you don't get a choice what you believe. It sort of osmotes into you, doesn't it? It's put into you. It's very often rote taught to you. You learn it by rote as a child, and it's very difficult to shake that off, isn't it? So, I don't know. But of course, if you reject all that and go for the science one, then fine. South Africa have announced that their national team will not take part in the Champions Trophy if it's staged in Pakistan. I think that might be cricket. But Paddy Barnes has won a bronze medal for Ireland in the light flyweight boxing. Not an event that you can really take part in on a windy day, can you? Well, you can't. 0161 228 2255. That fighting with sticks in place of big knives should be the next Olympics. If there's one thing that we're getting better at in Britain, it's sticking knives into each other. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, we're getting good at that. Yeah. So maybe... Oh, I can bring you up to date, if you're that way inclined, with Ben Briley's statue from yesterday. Oh, yeah. I've got a photograph of it. This is all from a website, this. It's a website, I hasten to add, of the Failsworth Labour Party. Yeah. The original Ben Briley statue at Queen's Park was erected in Briley's honour soon after his death. It was vandalised sometime in the 1990s, and the top section was taken to storage to Eaton Park Boathouse. In the mid-90s, the boathouse was destroyed in an arson attack which left the statue badly damaged. Today, only the plinth remains. The plinth was used to assess the scale of the original statue, which, together with the plaster cast bust at Failsworth Library, helped an artist create the new statue. And the new statue, which we were talking about yesterday, is in Failsworth. And when you look at him, I hadn't noticed this before, but when you look at him, he looks a bit like Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. I'm not suggesting that they've got it mixed up, but he does. He looks a bit like Abraham Lincoln, particularly when you look at the clay version. And then we've even got a presentation of the Ben Briley statue to the people of Failsworth, presumably by the council. And true worth never fails. That's the endorsement on it. Ben Briley, 1825 to 1896, by Denise Dutton, that's the artist, presented to the people of Failsworth on the 14th of June 2006 by Councillor Jim McMahon and John Crompton, chairman of the Failsworth Historical Society. So there you are. You now know everything you need to know about the statue of Ben Briley. So it was Hilda yesterday who wanted to know, and Hilda, I hope you feel fully informed. We do our best. It's just gone 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Anna Dawson.
The family of a South Manchester man killed in a hit-and-run 4 months ago say they're desperate for the driver to give themselves up. John Ryan would have been celebrating his 29th birthday tomorrow, but he died in April after being hit by a car on Kingsway in Stretford. Gary Glitter's lawyer says the star claims he's innocent of child sex abuse. The disgraced singer arrived back in the UK this morning after serving a jail sentence in Vietnam for molesting 2 girls. He has to sign the sex offenders register within 3 days. And there are concerns that thousands of criminals could sue the government, landing taxpayers with the bill after a private firm working for the Home Office lost a memory stick containing the personal details of thousands of offenders. Manchester's weather, sunny and cloudy spells with the odd shower, highs of 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, if you're heading onto the M60, traffic really is slowing down. 2 lanes are closed off because of an accident involving a motorcycle between 13 Worsley and 12 Eccles. Congestion's tailing all the way back to 18 Sinister Island. The middle and outside lanes of the 3 are closed off. Police and ambulance are in attendance. It's queuing up on the M6 north and southbound between 20 at Lymm and 18 at Middlewich, owing mainly to bank holiday traffic, really. And if you're using the M61, it's queuing on the southbound between 3 at Kersley Spur and 1 at the Swinton interchange, queuing through the tunnels because of this accident on the M60. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in today on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Ace says, judging by some of the Olympic Games I've seen, like BMX racing. Did they still make BMX bikes? I didn't think they did. I thought they stopped making them years ago. Anyway, BMX racing. I don't know why they don't include newspaper delivery boys on their bikes. Now, that would be interesting to watch. They could do that, couldn't they? And have it like they do in America, where the newspapers come in a lassie band. They're kept together by... Otherwise, when they chuck them, they go all over the place. And they ride down the street. I've seen it on the telly. They ride down the street and they chuck it into your front garden. Even on The Sopranos. They even chuck Tony Soprano's paper, so it must be acceptable. Because if you chuck... You wouldn't do anything to upset him, would you? But they even chuck his. And they go down the street, whop, 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 chucking them like that. So they could do that. You could give measures, couldn't you? For target, you could hit the target, or you don't hit the target. You could even make them get it in a basket. They don't get a basket. You get it in a basket, they don't get a point. We've got games like that. And you could have speed, and you could have one at like 10-metre intervals. It'd have to be metres, even though the Americans are in it. It'd have to be metres. Yeah, that'll be all right. That could be an Olympic sport. It's as good as BMX racing. Anyway, that woman fell off. Supposed to be the world champion. She can't even stay upright. Bloody hell, how bad's that? Yeah, well, never mind. And the Olympians, the 2-wheeled Olympians, are in a week tomorrow, I think it is. Yeah, a week tomorrow, are in Salford. Yeah. That Hoy fella, Chris Hoy, he'll be there, along with Geraint Thomas and Ed Clancy. They're coming. Yeah, they're coming to Salford. Well, they live round here, why wouldn't they? 0161 228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and of course you can text 07786 206 951. Dead easy. All you got to do, pick up the phone and have your say. I've got an email from someone who wishes to remain anonymous, and I don't quite know why, but it's none of my business. Listening to your programme the other day, we were talking about heating allowance, you might recall. Listening to your programme yesterday, the people who don't need the £250 a year of heating allowance are probably the ones who've paid the most into the system. Having paid in, you're entitled to the benefits. You must be crackers not wanting to use your bus pass. You've paid your taxes and had most of the money wasted. It's your chance to get a bit of your own back. Finally, I agree entirely with your views on old age pensions. It is a disgrace, along with care for the elderly, or lack of it in this country. And then it says, please don't read my name out. Well, all right, I haven't done. But this idea, and I'm stumped by one bit of it. Yes, I'm the old age pension bit, happy with that. It's a disgrace, of course it is. Happy that, I've said it 1,000 times. This idea that just because you've paid more in than anybody else, you've got some kind of obligation to accept that which is offered back to you. Well, I understand that. It makes some sense. But what I was criticising with the bus pass, heating allowance and things like that, is that we have so many benefits in our society that are means tested. And then we have these other benefits that are given to everybody. Child benefit. Millionaires get child benefit if they've got children. Millionaires get child benefit. Millionaires and comfortably off get bus passes. I don't see why they should. Now, I'm not suggesting that we ought to start means testing them. I don't think there should be such a thing as a bus pass. I don't think the elderly should get bus passes. I don't think the elderly should get free prescriptions. I don't think the elderly should get any more than anybody else, except perhaps health care, which we all get anyway. So, no, I don't agree with all that giving special things to the elderly. Just like I don't really agree with giving financial assistance to the disabled. Why? When your legs don't work, it doesn't mean your wallet's empty. It can mean that, but it doesn't have to. And so I think we should give benefits to people in financial need when they're financial benefits. I think with people who have disabilities, we should give them those things which can help them with their mobility, such as parking spaces by the door of public buildings and the ability to park in places where others perhaps cannot, all of those things. Possibly even give them the motor car for free. Perfectly happy with those sorts of ambulant assistance. But don't give them money, any more money than you give anybody else. And if we're going to have benefits, then the system that, I mentioned it the other day, the system that one political party suggested for a while was that we decide what an adult is worth in our society. And if we decide that an adult is worth, I don't know, £250 a week, it doesn't matter what the figure is, probably £250 a week is not a comfortable sum, but it's a damn sight more than pensioners get. If we say every adult is entitled to have an income of £250 a week, OK, every adult gets that. And if your income falls below £250, we give you the balance. If your income goes above £250, we tax you. Exactly. So any money you earn on top of your 250 quid, you get taxed. Everybody. Every single person on the planet. Makes sense to me. Eileen in Boughton. Hiya.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want you to sort the puddle out for me.
Oh, dear.
My neighbour and I have got a silent intruder at night. Now, I've got a back garden very secluded, and we've been putting food out for hedgehogs. But over the last 6 weeks, we've put ham shank out, full chicken carcass, mince, chicken, all sorts. But the laugh of it all is, whatever it is taking the dishes.
It's taking the dishes?
Yes, plastic bowls, trays, the food trays, they get from supermarkets. They've been going. And we're just... it visualises the idea of a fox jumping over a fence carrying my shepherd's pie in a dish.
Under his arm?
Well, we just can't figure it out. We can't hear it.
No. I have absolutely no idea. It may be. Have you any idea what time it's going?
No.
No.
The other night he put out some winged chicken, I think it was.
Yeah.
And about 9:30, about 10:30, it had gone.
You must be running out of dishes by now.
Why, yes, the bowls have gone and these trays have gone.
I should stop putting it out in dishes is the best advice I can come up with. Who's pinching it, I don't know. We could start a search for dishes, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, your mind boggles at the idea.
Indeed, it does. I think the only person who can be involved in that has to be a human, or the only creature has to be a human.
Well, I can't see. I mean, mince
Well,
and
well,
chicken.
well, we ignore what's in it. Give me one. I mean, I know you've tried this already, Eileen, but give me one creature that you think might pinch the dish. There isn't one. The only creature that would pinch the dish is a human.
So I'm going to have to look during the night for a person that...
No, I've got a better idea.
Go on.
Stop putting it out in dishes.
I tried that. That goes too, yes.
You did what?
Oh, I used to do that, and then I studied... Because it was mince, I put it in a dish.
Well, I mean, they're not fussy. They'll eat off the floor.
No, I know.
So don't bother with a dish.
It's just intriguing me what's doing it.
A human being, Eileen. I can't think of anybody else. It's a human.
Oh, you think it's a human?
I can't think it can be anybody else. I can't see a pigeon taking it. An hedgehog's not likely to take the dish.
No.
Nor indeed is a fox. It's a human. And they're not nicking the food, they're nicking the dish.
Oh, well, I hope they enjoy them.
Well, indeed, yeah. If you're a bit worried about it being on the floor, then put a bit of tin foil down and put it on the tin foil.
Oh, that'll go too, I expect.
Well, it'll cost a lot less. All right, Eileen. Have a good day. All right, bye-bye. If anyone's any further... Are you the dish nicker of Bolton? Stop robbing Eileen of her dishes. She's getting fed up of it. Ken in Radcliffe. Hiya, Ken.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
I phoned up my gas and electric supplier yesterday and complained about this massive hike in the cost. And I got a right load of bull. Obviously, they've been trying to give it all out. And I said, you don't make 1 therm of gas. You don't make 1 watt of electricity. How do you justify it? I said, you buy a block amount of gas and electric, and then you flog it onto us. I said, why can't you tell us how much you actually pay for all this gas and electric? Oh, that's private. That's personal. We can't do that. I said, well, the will says how much a barrel of oil is, so we've got an idea. So why can't you tell us that? Which, again, goes back to Maggie Thatcher, doesn't it? She's wrecked the country. So, anyway, I said, you don't produce out, you buy all this. I said, why? Why are you doing that? Why are you putting it all up? You buy all this amount of gas and electric. When did you buy it? You didn't just buy it now. You must have bought it ages ago. So why are you putting the prices up? So, I mean, we know what she did, Thatcher. I mean, I can remember as a kid because I'm what you call a wrinkly now. And we had these coking ovens down Salford off Regent Road. And where they made the gas, because we didn't know about these gas fields in the sea around us. And which again, if we're that bothered about, which we are, about gas, it seems we'll have to get back to the days where we made our own gas from coal. What do you think? Do you think I'm right in saying why can't they tell us what they pay for this amount of gas and electric off the suppliers? They come out of order.
I don't think you're out of order, but I don't see why they should tell us. They're a business, they're nothing else.
Well, how can you have a business when you don't produce help?
Well, what does Sainsbury's produce? That's quite a successful business. They don't produce anything. They just buy it, stack it on the shelf, wait for you to come and collect it and take some money off you. They don't produce it.
Yeah, that's it again.
Well, I'm not at anything again. I'm just saying that a business isn't necessarily a factory. They don't produce anything. They sell it. The corner shop, when you go in and get your Daily Mail or your Daily Minute or whatever, do you think they wrote it in the back? Or do you think they bought it and then sold it to you at a profit?
Well, I think there's a big difference when you're talking 22%,
we were dealing...
£22 every 100.
I know, I do know the arithmetic, but I was just answering you.
Yeah, I know, I can't argue with that.
I'm not asking you to argue. You asked me how can it be a business when it doesn't make anything, and I was merely answering that question very easily. It just has to trade. That's what a business does.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but shops providing cans of food or fresh bread or what have you have been going on from day one. But as far as these companies that are selling gas and electric, they've never produced it. They've just started up since Maggie Thatcher arrived on the scene.
Well, all that happened prior to Thatcher was that the person doing the trading, the company doing the trading, was government-owned. But it was still trading. It still bought its electricity in and traded it, or it generated it from the coal and everything else. So nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed, if you like, is that instead of any profits they make going into overmanning, the profits now go into shareholders' pockets.
Well, yeah, I mean, I even asked that. I said,
and possibly even pensions.
Well, yeah, but I still contend that I can't see any justification in having these companies that don't produce out. And Maggie Thatcher said that it will give us a better, what's the word now, competition. How do you have competition when you don't produce out? I can't understand that.
Well, again, it's a similar answer to that of how do you have a business if you can't produce anything. We've already established that Sainsbury's doesn't produce anything, neither does Asda, or for that matter Tesco's. But they are all in competition, and in order to get your custom, they perceive their process as being selling the goods at the lowest price, and they compete violently almost to sell you the goods at the lowest price. So they're in competition, but again, back to your old question, none of them produce anything.
But they're not selling at the lowest, you just keep putting the price up all the time. So how would you...
Well, if you are entitled, the power suppliers are in competition with each other, and you are entitled to purchase from whichever one you wish.
That Thatcher, talk about competition, she certainly weren't bothered about when she lobbied Jim Callaghan to nationalise her husband's oil business, Burma Oil, to take it under the umbrella of BP, where they become very rich. And then, what is it, after she did a good job for her mates, she got a £1 million house off, I think it was Barrett's. But that's the type of person that's wrecked this country. I don't believe we should have these companies selling us something they don't produce over the last few years.
Well, what would you have happen? Imagine the situation at the moment, and it's not the largest choice on the planet, but at the moment, if you don't like the company, for whatever reason, be it price or service or anything else, that sells you your electricity, you can go to a different company.
Yeah.
Pre-privatisation, if you didn't like British Gas that was selling you your gas, or Norweb that was selling your electric, if you didn't like them, you could, well, put up with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. So you had no choice. Now you've got choice.
Well, they haven't got choice because they all put the prices up the same amount, roughly.
Well,
so where's your choice? Now, when it was British Gas, as we called it, and Norweb and all that, which was government-controlled and owned, they wouldn't have dared to put up prices like these companies have done.
But if
twice a year.
If they did not, and if there was a just need of an increase, if they did not, then all that happened was instead of them putting up their price, the organisation made a loss, and that loss was underwritten, paid for, by the taxpayer. So instead of paying for your gas and your electricity price increase through your electricity bill, you paid it instead in tax. In the end, it doesn't matter. You still pay for it. There ain't nobody going to give it away. And even before Thatcher, they weren't queuing up and delivering free buckets of electricity to your house. You still had to pay for it, either in the form of a bill, or if the company made a loss, and they very, very often did, if the company made a loss, you paid for it in that way.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think the government, especially a Labour government, would have dared to have put the prices up that amount. And there again, if you talk about a penny in the pound, I think more people might accept that a bit better than getting a bill at the end of the quarter for 400, 500, 600 quid.
You say that, but in consecutive elections, probably the past 5 elections, possibly even a few more, the only thing that people have cared a fig about was how much tax will I pay. That's all they've cared about, and they've constantly voted in the government that they believed would give them cheapest government. So the idea that there's some other issue and people would happily pay a penny extra in the pound income tax to have cheaper electricity, I say to you, is evidence of the past quarter of a century nonsense. 19 minutes to 1 o'clock on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Anna Dawson.
The family of a South Manchester man killed in a hit and run 4 months ago say they're desperate for the driver to give themselves up. John Ryan would have been celebrating his 29th birthday tomorrow, but he died in April after being hit by a car on Kingsway in Stretford. 2 taxi drivers have been attacked in separate incidents in Middleton. A knife and what's thought to be CS gas were used in both robberies. And Gary Glitter is back in Britain after serving nearly 3 years in a Vietnamese jail for child sex abuse. A judge has ruled he must now sign the sex offenders register, which means his movements will be monitored by police. Manchester's weather, a mix of sunny and cloudy spells, highs of 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, all lanes have been reopened on the anti-clockwise M60 now. There was an accident earlier on this afternoon involving a motorcycle between junction 13 Worsley and 12 Eccles. But traffic remains slow nonetheless, despite the fact all those lanes have been reopened to traffic. It's queuing on the anti-clockwise all the way back to 18 Somerset Island, which, as you should imagine, is also having an impact on M66 traffic and M61 traffic as well. Also looking fairly heavy on the M602, heading on towards the M60. Because the clockwise is slowing down. A lot of people are slowing to take a look at what's happening on the opposite side. Taking a quick peek now to traffic on the M6, and the situation remains the same. It's still queuing up southbound between 20 at Lymm and 18 Middlewich, mainly due to build-up of bank holiday traffic around the area. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester, Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Well, we're still waiting for Manchester City to complete the £6 million signing of Hamburg defender Vincent Kompany. The 22-year-old Belgium international flew into Manchester last night and is having a medical at Carrington today. Kompany has been on international duty at the Olympics. Well, we'll hear from City boss Mark Hughes later this afternoon, right here on BBC Radio Manchester. Steve Bruce doesn't think there'll be any transfer activity at Wigan before the transfer window closes a week on Monday. The Latics host Chelsea tomorrow at the JJB, and Bruce says if the likes of tomorrow's opposition make any late bids for the players, they'd better be ready to pay big money.
If it happens and one of the big clubs comes in for one of our players, then it's going to be very, very difficult. But I think they'll know that if they want to come in, then they're going to have to be prepared to pay over the odds, because with 9 days to go, it's not ideal, is it, that they come and wait at this late stage, but you can never tell.
Bolton boss Gary Megson wants more goals this season after being disappointed with their form in front of goal during the last campaign. The Wanderers, who scored 3 in their victory at Stoke on Saturday, go to Newcastle tomorrow, with Megson wanting much of the same.
And we've spoken about this and told the players, not as individuals in terms of the names, but the position that they play, and we've told them the amount of goals we expect to come from that position. Now, if one player plays there all season, that's what's expected of him. If 5 do, then they share it out amongst themselves. But we've told them that our goal scoring last year was nowhere near good enough, and that it needs to improve this year.
Rochdale go to Bradford tomorrow in League 2, and Dale boss Keith Hill is determined to keep the club moving forward.
It's probably typical of Rochdale and the previous history that they haven't been able to maintain any type of success. So we want to do that for ourselves first and foremost, and then representing the football club. So, everybody's ambitious, and in this ambitious environment that we're in, you've got to be successful or you just get lost in the wash.
Well, Bury will be looking to continue their 100% record when they meet Morecambe in League 2 tomorrow. The Shakers have won 2 out of 2 2, while Morecambe have yet to win. But Bury boss Alan Knill isn't assuming it'll be easy.
I'm sure Sammy won't be carried away that they've not won for 2 in the league. And same with us, we're not carried away that we've won 2 because we know how difficult it is, and they're coming to us and probably expecting to beat us. So we'll just set ourselves up. We obviously know about them, do our own work, and then give it our best shot, which is all you can do.
We'll have coverage of Bury's game with Morecambe. I'll be there at Gig Lane tomorrow, and we'll of course all our local teams in the all-new Manchester Sports with Jimmy Wagg from 1 o'clock. At the Olympics, Manchester's Aaron Cook was denied the chance to fight for a Taekwondo gold medal by a refereeing mistake. That's according to his coach, Nelson Miller. He believes his opponent's final attack was after the bell. Cook can still win a bronze in the repechage. Well, Great Britain have picked up their 18th gold medal this morning. Tim Brabant's won the men's 1,000-metre kayak singles and becomes the first ever British canoeing gold medalist.
I'm really pleased. Last year, winning the World Championships was the first time we've done it in 20 years, and now the first Olympic gold ever. It's fantastic, but it's not just me. My coach, Eric Farrell, the rest of the team, they've been fantastic behind me. It's all worked, all the good wishes, and thanks very much.
Well, Britain will add at least a silver and 2 bronzes in the boxing. James DeGale has beaten Darren Sutherland in his semi-final. Tony Jeffries and David Price are fighting in their semis this afternoon. And Russia's Lyudmila Blonska has been stripped of her heptathlon silver medal. She tested positive for a banned steroid. Live to Canterbury, not long to go until lunch on day 3 of Lancashire's County Championship match at Kent. Not nice viewing for Mike Watkinson because the runs keep coming for the home side. Chris Malaband.
The lead is now 399 runs, 241 for 2. Kent Joe Denley has eased to his 6th first-class century with 115, and with him is South African Manson van Jaarsveld, who is on 34. So Lancashire just waiting for that declaration to come from Robert Key. If he made it now, they would still have to chase 400 to win this match. The question for Key is really at what time he pushes the button. We've got about 15 minutes to go till lunch, so he might elect to do it then. Just the 1 wicket to go. Neil Dexter caught by Dominic Cork at slip off Gary Keady for 75. Dexter trying to run the ball down to third man and just in the end steering it to Cork at slip. Cork's only bowled the 1 over this morning before pulling up with a calf problem. We've not seen Saj Mahmood either, so Lancashire obviously aware of the match situation, that it's a question of just playing out time and waiting for the declaration to come. 241 for 2.
Cheers, Chris. More from Chris throughout the afternoon here on BBC Radio Manchester. Steve Harmison has come out of international retirement, I should say one-day retirement, as his side has been. He's been named as Ryan Sidebottom's replacement. That's for the game against South Africa at Headingley. Andrew Flintoff will bat at number 5, and Freddie admits he's in need of some runs.
It hurts me that I'm not scoring the runs I'd like to. I've not had the opportunity to do so through injury. I'm not bothered what people say. Everyone's a critic these days, so I just go on with it. I work hard at it. I've been working with Andy Flower and Phil Neal here, and hopefully it will just all come together, but I definitely feel that there's a big score around the corner.
England's one-day game at Headingley gets underway at 2:30 this afternoon. In Rugby League, BBC Radio Manchester understands that St Helens prop forward Bryn Hargreaves has agreed a new 2-year deal with the club. And Wigan Warriors host second-place Leeds Rhinos at the JJB this evening. We'll have full match commentary of that game in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. And there's plenty of new signings on show for Sale Sharks double-header at Edgeley Park this evening. Matthew Tate, Dwayne Peel, David Doherty and Luke Abraham will all start against Leeds at 8 o'clock. Nick McLeod's on the bench, and Andy Tuliangi will play against Sedgley Park at 6.
Next Tuesday, Eamon and Diane's guest producer is Professor Ian Morrison from Jodrell Bank.
We don't know why our universe can actually support life. There's nothing in the laws of physics to say that it can. One possible reason is that a creator, we might call God, produced the universe so that we could be here.
Ian Morrison.
If another alien race, perhaps running out of its own resources, finds that here is somewhere good to be, we might get invaded.
Eamon and Diane, produced by Ian Morrison.
Searching for E.T.
Tuesday morning at 6.
At BBC Radio Manchester.
Ian Morrison, the Professor of Little Green Men at Jodrell Bank. 0161228 2255. Wilfred in Warrington. Hi, Wilfred.
Yeah, does anybody ever listen to all this sporty thing?
I'm hoping so.
What it is, Alan, it's a long while since I've spoke to you, but what it is, basically, I think I might have the answer. You can probably correct me. About this gas problem this chap is on about, on the news night, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, it quoted when it was first mooted about the gas prices going up, that the French have a 3-month supply in reserve.
They do.
And they buy the gas in when it is cheap during, we might say, the off-season. We have 2 weeks' supply.
Correct.
So we have to buy it at cost price.
Well, yes, that is absolutely true. The question, of course, that Ken was getting to, partially, is whilst gas prices rocketed because they, for some reason, are linked to oil price, and nobody's ever explained that satisfactorily to me.
No.
But the gas price rocketed just recently. It has now fallen back again by quite a long way. And yet, the gas companies are putting up their gas charges, and that doesn't make sense. If you're saying the gas price follows the international supply price, then it should now be going down, but it's not. It's going up. One of the reasons the gas price is going up at the moment, one of the reasons, is that one of the major supply lines is damaged.
Yeah, the Norwegian one.
Indeed. And so there's going to be less gas about in our country.
Yeah.
And, of course, you're right in saying that we then can't turn to our 3 months of storage like the French can, because we've only got 2 weeks of storage.
Yeah, we've never bothered to... it's a Dunkirk theory all over again. You know, we're never ready. We're never prepared.
We indeed are never ready, but the reason we're not ready, and it's an unfortunate one, but when the industry was national, when it was British Gas proper, the government would never spend money on infrastructure unless it really, really had to. It just would not spend the money because, of course, it would have to ask the taxpayers for that money. And they wouldn't do it, and so we have insufficient storage space.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'd see the football season's coming in.
Yeah, it's something to be looked forward to, isn't it?
Yes, but, well, I don't watch in
mate.
Overpaid prima donnas.
They are. There's no way around that. Good on you, Wilfred. Have a good day. 0161 228 2255. And on the subject of not quite football, but Ace says, so Gary Glitter wants to disappear from public view, does he? Fine. That's easy. All he's got to do is join Warrington Rugby Club. That's very, very cruel, if I may say. And the lady who's getting her dishes stolen should ask the immigration service in case she's got some immigrants hiding in her garden. What, and living on mince? I mean, you've got to be really stuck, haven't you, if you're nicking... If you're nicking the hedgehog's mince, then you're in difficulty. Alan, I was watching the Olympics while shaving this morning. This is related to Taekwondo. I didn't want to waste valuable time. The Taekwondo was on. It consisted of 2 guys dancing around, giving each other really strong Paddington stares, and occasionally having a kick at each other, but not often. The referee kept gesturing them to get stuck in, to no avail. Eventually, one of them was declared the winner. It's a waste of a good shave. Electric, not gas, says Keith. I know which one it is now, then, Taekwondo, because I watched a bit of it. Well, I didn't watch it. It was on the telly as I was looking for something. And that's the one, then, when they seem to... It's a bit like Irish dancing. They bob up and down on the spot, dump, 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 with their arms by the side. That's it. That's the one. Fantastic. Oh, we like that. Yeah, that's really tedious, is that? They should give them sticks, but then they'd have to call it kendo, as we learned earlier. But let us not dwell too far. Yeah, because it's weird. And where I come from in Glasgow, says John in Dis, where I come from in Glasgow, a big stick is called a chib. The verb form is also chib. So chib is both the noun and the verb. And to chib is generally accepted as a method of arranging somebody's facial features. An alternative verb is malky. For example, to malky one's opponent about the head. Did you see how I went into the dialect then? Hey, me and Bill Briley, we're the ones. Anyway, Ben Briley. Malky. So I malky, you malky, he malkies, we malky. You see, I'm just declaiming the verb to malky. I chib, we chib, he chib. Exactly. To give an example, when entering a public house in Glasgow, one is often accosted thus by the door steward while frisking you for weapons. Are you carrying? To which you reply, no. At which point, mine host will usually say, well, you better have one of these, as he hands you a big stick. Very good. So we now know what chibbing is and what malkying is. Very good. Oh, yeah, I saw that story as well, Dave. Dave in Bury, cracking story in the paper today. What do you think of today's stories about the white South African farmer who's been released after serving only 3 years of a life sentence? Apparently, the judge thinks it's okay to dispose of a body as long as it's not alive. Any comments? The story he's referring to was the only place I saw it, actually, today, was in the Express. And it's a white farmer, a white South African farmer, who was convicted, and even did time, but is convicted of feeding one of his staff, who was black, feeding one of his staff to a lion. Now that's... I know it's not funny, please. But he did. He fed him to a lion, a white South African farmer who fed a black former employee to the lions has been freed from jail. He was released after a judge ruled there is no evidence that the victim was alive when he was thrown into a lion enclosure. Mark Scott Crossley, 38, was jailed for life in 2005 for assaulting former employee Nelson Chizale and throwing him into an enclosure to be eaten by lions. All that was found was his skull, some gnawed bones and bloody clothing. Actually, in the corner is a little plastic dish from Failsworth. Anyway, last year, a judge reduced his sentence to 5 years after ruling there was no evidence that the man was alive when he fed him to the lions. So, that's it. That's the story. Absolutely extraordinary. And they reckon apartheid's dead. In South Africa, not a chance. Kevin says, why is profit a dirty word? I think he's referring back to Ken, who was somewhat agitated at the fact that the gas and electricity suppliers make a profit. If companies didn't make a profit, they would shed staff. They wouldn't invest in the future. And those on private pensions would be in the bread queue. And in years to come, that'll include both you and I, says Kevin, forcing me to attempt to agree with him. Profit isn't a dirty word. The problem is the distribution of profit and how it's distributed and the way people make the money that is profit. I mean, for example, an awful lot of people make money just by buying and selling things that, frankly, are valueless. They're just pieces of paper. And they move about so quickly that they never have any intrinsic value, shares in this company and that company. Yes, if you're an investor in the company, if you put money into the company, that's fine. I understand that. But a company cannot sell its share value. A company cannot trade in its share value in simple terms. So if you're making sproggets and the company has a high share value, it doesn't reduce or increase the price of your sproggets. It just increases or diminishes the value of the share. The share capital system stinks. But where's it better? And that's the tricky one. I mean, you know, dyed-in-the-wool lefties of yesteryear, such as I, believe in state ownership and all that gubbins. But when claiming that one approves of and supports the concept of state ownership, you also have to agree that the state is crap at running everything. They're crap at running the army, they're crap at running the health service, they're crap at running the prisons, they're crap at running the police. The state is crap at running everything. They can't even keep things secret, as we hear this morning. Another 40,000 pieces of personal information has gone awry. No, all right, it's only prisoners, it's only criminals, so we're not going to shed many tears. But it still demonstrates that the government are crap at everything. All governments are.
Join me, Mike Shaft, as we welcome the new Bishop of Stockport this Sunday from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
0161 228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and the text number, if you fancy the thumbing, 07786 206 951.
95.1 FM.
DAB Digital Radio.
And the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, dozens of holidaymakers bound for Manchester are stranded in Cyprus, and Gary Glitter says his child sex abuse trial in Vietnam was a travesty of justice.
Carlos Tevez is set to return for Manchester United.
Well, this afternoon there is a lot of cloud around, but we should see 1 or 2 sunny intervals and just the odd scattered shower. Top temperatures 18 Celsius.
And the M60 still looking fairly hectic, I'm afraid, in light of an earlier accident between 13 Worsley and 12 Eccles. All lanes have been reopened, but traffic anti-clockwise backing up to 18 at Sinister Island.
Good afternoon, I'm Anna Dawson. It's emerged a plane bound for Manchester has been stranded in Cyprus for 2 days because of technical difficulties. The EasyJet flight from Paphos was due to leave the Cypriot island on Wednesday, but the plane had to return to the airport shortly after takeoff due to technical difficulties. The passengers have been offered hotel accommodation and will now fly back into Manchester tonight. EasyJet are apologising to the holidaymakers for any inconvenience. The family of a Stretford man killed in a hit-and-run incident in April have appealed for the driver to give themselves up. 28-year-old John Ryan died as he made his way home after a night out. The police say they've been given very little information. Tomorrow would have been John's birthday, and his brother Stephen says the family has been left devastated.
It's one of those things what you never prepared for at all, and it really has hit everyone very hard. And the fact that no one has come forward at this moment in time is it makes it even worse. It really does.
There are concerns that thousands of criminals could sue the government, landing taxpayers with the bill after a private firm working for the Home Office lost a memory stick containing the personal details of thousands of offenders. The government says it's investigating how the stick was lost. The paedophile Gary Glitter has been told he must sign the sex offenders register after returning to Britain this morning. His solicitor said the former pop star, whose real name is Paul Gadd, believed his conviction for abusing 2 young girls in Vietnam was a travesty of justice. David Corker also claimed his client had been worried about what might happen to him in the UK.
Mr. Gadd's not a well man. He needs medical attention. He's also unsurprisingly concerned about his safety. And these past few days have enabled the Metropolitan Police and I, on his behalf, to put into plan a proper procedure for his protection and his well-being. And I'm pleased to say that's now in place.
The head of Spain's Civil Aviation Authority, Manuel Batista, has said the plane crash at Madrid airport that killed 153 people must have been caused by more than one factor. Mr. Batista told a Spanish newspaper engine failure alone would not have brought the plane down. The investigation into what happened is likely to take months. 2 taxi drivers have been attacked in separate incidents in Middleton. A knife and what's thought to be CS gas were used in both robberies. Catherine Murray's got more details.
The first attack happened around 10 last night. The 47-year-old taxi driver picked up 2 men on Morton Street in Middleton, and he'd only driven a short distance before the man in the back held a knife to his throat. The front seat passenger then sprayed him with what's thought to be CS gas before they stole money and ran off. In the second attack, 2 men got into a taxi on Rochdale Road at 3 this morning. Again, the driver was sprayed in the face with CS gas and had money stolen. He was also stabbed in the arm and his hand was slashed. Police have described the assaults as violent and terrifying.
And for the first time in nearly 16 years, the UK economy has stopped expanding. The Office for National Statistics recorded no growth between April and June this year, adding to fears that the economy may be slipping into recession.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Bill Rice.
Manchester United have Carlos Tevez available for Monday night's game at Portsmouth. Ryan Giggs could also be fit for the game after picking up a hamstring injury in the draw against Newcastle. Manchester City are set to complete the £6 million signing of the Hamburg defender Vincent Kompany later today. Lancashire, though, are facing defeat in their county championship match with Kent. BBC Radio Manchester's Chris Malaband is in Canterbury.
Lunch here in Kent, 255 for two, the home side, with Joe Denley easing his way to 100. He's unbeaten on 118, and Martin van Jaarsveld is unbeaten on 45. So Kent captain Rob Key can enjoy his lunch with a lead of 413 runs to his side. The question will come as to when Key will press the button, and Lancashire will have the unenviable task of trying to bat out 5 sessions. Neil Dexter, the only wicket to go, caught by Cork off Keady for 75 this morning. 255 for two.
Thank you, Chris. Manchester City have just confirmed the signing of Vincent Kompany from Hamburg. The defender has completed the move on an undisclosed fee. Tim Brabants has won Great Britain's 18th gold medal in the Beijing Olympics in the 1,000-metre kayak event. There'll be at least 3 more medals in the boxing too. James de Gaulle is guaranteed silver or gold. Tony Jeffries and David Price will win at least bronze. But Manchester's Aaron Cook was denied the chance to fight for taekwondo gold by a refereeing mistake. That's according to his coach Nelson Miller. He's also just lost the bronze medal fight.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, this afternoon there is a lot of cloud around, particularly across the Pennines, and we could see 1 or 2 light patchy showers here or there. But for most of us, it's a dry afternoon, and that cloud will thin and break from time to time to bring us some sunny intervals. Top temperatures today, 18 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hiya. Are you all right? Good. 0161 228 2255. And, of course, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk and 07786 206 951. According to the Daily Express, 1,650 new immigrants, their word not mine, invade the UK every day. Immigration has hit record levels, with 1,650 people moving to the UK every day. The number of foreigners living here has risen by 1.1 million in 3 years, enough to fill a city the size of Birmingham. More than 1 person in 10 now living in the UK is foreign-born. The number of people leaving the country has also reached unprecedented levels, and nearly half of them are native Britons. Statisticians had expected net immigration to have fallen by now, but the influx is so huge that instead it's continuing to rise. Soaring numbers of births to foreign mothers are adding to the population explosion. And please don't anybody say they breed like rabbits. That's it. Those are the statistics. Why does it matter? Well, I know many people think it does. So why does it? Why does it matter that 1,650 new immigrants invade the UK every day? Invade is, as I say, the Daily Express's word. Why does it matter? We've also learned today another statistic, and that is that there are more elderly people in the country than there are children. That's not more elderly people than there are people who are younger than them. So, in other words, that's not that there are more people over 65 than there are under 65. It is that there are more people over 65 than there are people under 21. Now, that's, on the face of it, not a major problem yet, but it does have the potential to be one in the future, doesn't it? Because elderly people cost more, and they don't cease to contribute, but the amount they contribute diminishes. People over 65, collectively, people over 65 cost the Exchequer more than they put into the Exchequer. That's not a criticism, it's just one of the facts. And those bills, that cost, has to be met by those under the age of 65 in taxation. And the equation is changing. What do we do about it? Well, one thing we can do about it is get more people under the age of 65 to be working and pay more tax. And in these periods that we have, and we've just had 16 years of annual growth, in those periods there's more tax being paid that supports those who need to be supported from taxation of one form or another. So that's fine. But of course, some of those jobs have to be filled by those born abroad because there aren't enough people in the UK to fill those jobs. So is immigration a good thing or a bad thing, in your view? Given that without the people to fill the jobs, we'll still have the wrinklies who will need our support. 0161 228 2255. Nora in Chester. Hello, Nora.
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to pick up on some points that you were talking about.
Go on.
And if I could just quickly go through some of them, and then, you know, you
we'll see. Go on, yeah.
criticise or whatever. You said about crap governments. Well, and you said they can't run anything. And I agree the way it's been, but, you know, when you get people in the phone-ins, and even when I'm out in company and I'm discussing things every day, and you get people moaning about either the health service or the phone bills, the energy bills, and I listen and then I say, well, it's our fault, and they say, what do you mean? And I say to them, well, are you involved in any pressure group or politically active? And they say, oh, no, I'm not interested in politics. And I say, well, politics is the quality of your life, whether you have it or you don't. I say, where do you think you got your rights from? And they look at you soft, what rights? And then they'll reel a lot off. So, and when you talk, I mean, you talked about the energy companies. Well, I remember the good old days, and for years we paid our bill. And if you had a complaint, you went on the high street and went in Manweb or the gas board, and it was dealt with right away. And someone was telling me, which I suppose I should have known, that when you try to phone up and make a complaint, it's press 1, press 2, hang on, there's a waiting list. And then this woman told me, who's in phone business, she said they buy that phone number off BT, and it's in their interest to keep you all waiting because they're making profits. And they were say, and then you hear documentaries. I heard one when I was on holiday somewhere late at night, and it was about the scandal of banks. They're ripping the average person who's on even normal average wage by little amounts in every kind of way, and they're making millions out of it. And you know, when they say about the state of society, I heard this morning going on about gangs with the boy Reese who was shot.
Yeah, shot a year ago today.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think of gangs in the neighbourhoods and that, who put the drink in the shops for young kids to buy and then get into trouble? And there's all
you're throwing out a lot of things there, but I mean, you're dealing with individual elements, but it started with an examination of what I'd said, that governments are bad at running things.
Yeah.
And you've not really, you've told me lots of things about rights and about a person's duty to be involved in politics.
Alan?
Well, go on.
Crap government is because the majority of the masses are not politically active or vigilant. And I say to people, it is not enough to just vote every 5 years.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure I agree, because it has been that way for generations. Governments are not good at running things. Not our government, not any other government, so far as I can see, because their reason for running it is not properly defined. The one thing we know about business, and you and I have criticised business many, many times, the one thing we know about business is why they are there. Now, we might not approve of why they are there, but they are there for one purpose only, and that is to get as much money as they can and to keep it. That's what business is for. Now, it might be an absolutely deplorable objective, but they know their objective, and everything in that business is geared to that. Even when they say we're giving you excellent service, even when they give excellent service, they're only doing it for money. They're only doing it to get your money. Governments don't have that. Governments don't have a simple reason to exist. They ought to have the simple reason to make things better for the public, but they don't. They're if they have any reason at all, it's to get elected again. That's the modern one. Now, that didn't used to be the case, but nonetheless, governments have never been good at actually running things.
Well, you disagreed with me about the majority of people are not interested only when something happens to them or their families, and then they're looking round for help. Well, when you think of it, in daily people's lives that are on average wage, when they get their hard-earned money, the business dictates our leisure time, how we spend it, and what we spend our money on. And when you think of...
Well, business doesn't dictate that. But business doesn't tell me how I will spend my wages. Business does offer me a whole raft of things that I might want to spend it on, whether that's a ticket at Warrington Rugby Club, a ticket at the cinema, a better motor car than perhaps I need, or to spend it on my garden, or going out for a meal or whatever. A whole range of things are offered to me. But business doesn't tell me. They tempt me. They don't tell me.
Yes, but Alan, you're not the average. You're savvy with things.
We're all the average.
No, Alan, not in what's going on. I mean to say, you remember, you've heard or you remember when they brought out tobacco smoking. And in the early 20s, Fraud's nephew went to America and said how you could cajole the masses to... do anything, and then they started making silent films and big fancy adverts saying it was glamorous for women to smoke and macho for men, and it all grew, and it's all the adverts that people who I wouldn't say aren't worth educating. I think the tragedy of working class life is we don't get. If you think that education is a necessity and not a pleasure, then it's important that every child is educated to the best standard. Whereas the children who come from families where the parents weren't educated, the grandparents were, they marry people like that. And that's not to say they wouldn't be bright children. It's like when we talk about champions in sport. Well, have you seen working class kids and the energy and the guts they've got when they're messing about? Well, if we gave them a chance of different things...
Well, no, to be fair, and I take your point that in the past when you watched the Olympic Games, the people from Britain who were winning medals were all middle-class people. Many, many of them, like most of the cricketers, went to public school and the like. And if you look at, the show jumpers, not many of them were brought up on council estates. The rowers, again, the same. Yes, middle-class lifestyle gives you more opportunities, but that would be the case whatever style of government we had. Surely the job of a government, surely the job of a society is to offer every opportunity to those citizens equally. So every opportunity is offered equally. But part of your decision, it's like 30 years ago, everybody had the same opportunity to go to university. But if you went home and said, I'm going to university, Mum, your mum said, no, you're not, you're getting a job, we need the money. No, you're not, we don't do that. Times have changed. Now everybody thinks university, a lot of people think university is what they should strive for. That's not to say that they've got cleverer or that they've got more opportunities, but the perception, the view, the outward view of their parents has changed.
But even when when my children were at school, and there was people coming out with specialising in subjects, and they went to university and got jobs. They didn't know anything about the world or how it worked or anything. They just specialised in that subject. And really, life is about, or it's not just about getting on, as they say, Mrs. Thatch used to say, and pushing your child up that greasy pole. It's about, when we educate people to say, if you push your child and they get to the top and they've got all the material things, and then you have the cheek to moan about the state of communities, when we should be brought up, and it's supposed to be a Christian thing, but I've given up on that, is our children, our community. And when we're educated in that way, and you see that every child gets the best education, we could build a near paradise on earth for the ordinary people, couldn't we?
Well, the risk of having a conversation on the value of words, every child can't have the best. They can only ever have equal. Or, as soon as you start saying the best can only ever go to a tiny few. But I think I know what you meant. Nora, good to talk to you. It always is. 0161 228 2255.
Your Sunday Morning Lion with Mike Shaft.
Why do you think the numbers of people from black communities are so low when it comes to things like voting?
It's probably just part of a general sense of belonging. We must not allow ourselves to be self-excluded, if you like, and take every opportunity to take our rightful place.
Mike Shaft.
We usually have chaplains at these major sporting events. Should it not become part of the rules that they're allowed to be there?
China have provided the religious service centre and they then staff that with their own people.
Manchester's faith, spirit and life's difficult questions with Mike Shaft.
It is there for anybody who wants to partake of it.
Sunday morning from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. You'll like this, I'm not sure how much. Charlie in Rusholme. Gary Glitter has now repaid his debt to society and should be left to live his life in peace, and we should celebrate his wonderful music and showmanship from before he came ill. Just gone 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Faye Rusco.
It's emerged a plane bound for Manchester has been stranded in Cyprus for 2 days because of technical difficulties. The family of a Stretford man killed in a hit-and-run incident in April have appealed for the driver to give themselves up. And Gary Glitter's lawyer says the star claims he's innocent of child sex abuse. The disgraced singer arrived back in the UK this morning after serving a jail sentence in Vietnam for molesting 2 girls. Manchester's weather, sunny and cloudy with the odd shower, highs of 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, let's take a look firstly to traffic on the M60. And things are starting to improve slowly but surely. Still looking fairly built up, I'm afraid, between junction 13 and junction 12. The M6 also queuing up southbound, I'm afraid, between junction 20 at Lymm and 18 Middlewich, mainly due to bank holiday traffic, really. No accidents or incidents to report, but do anticipate these delays to gradually get worse over the next coming hours as people head towards a number of events across the northwest. Creamfields is on this weekend as well, don't forget, on the M56 around that area anyway. Likely to affect things as you're coming off at junction 11. The festival this year being held at the Daresbury Estate. And not forgetting, of course, it's Manchester Pride 2008 as well in the town centre of Manchester, city centre I should say, of Manchester. A number of city centre routes closed off as well. We've been seeing delays this morning, especially on Minshall Street, heading on towards Portland Street as well. And at one point the queues were as far back as Piccadilly Gardens, queuing up from Oxford Street. Don't forget, if you can update me further, why not get in touch on the travel line 0161 244 4951. I'm Carla Banks.
2020 traffic means you get an update every 20 minutes through the day.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Colin in Royton. Hi, Colin.
Hello, Alan. Good afternoon. Well, what it is, you know, when you were on about pensions, you were saying that the people now who paid 50 years, 60 years, right, you said that the people who are paying the stamps now were paying for us.
I don't know who you mean by us, but the money that goes in...
The pensioners of today.
Yes, that is true.
Well, no, it's not. Because
Okay.
if you go back to when it first happened in 1947, right, go back again now and I'll tell you what happened.
Please do.
All the money what we had left, gold, all is gold, remember, we still had a lot of gold, paid for the first pensions. It paid for everything. In fact, people were getting that many pairs of glasses and teeth who were coming out of their heads, falling out. They were the first to do it. Yes, the working class man, he hammered himself again, didn't he? He was the one what went for the teeth and poor pair of glasses and everything. So what I'm saying is all the first payment in pensions was paid for out of tax, what was left over. And by the way, by the time we got to 1955, right, Stamps then for a lad who left school was £4.11 a week. And if you were an apprentice bricklayer, you worked 49 hours for £1 an hour. And you paid £4.11. That was for your stamp. And if you were grown up, you paid 7 and 6. Now, as it went on, if you got over a certain age, right, there's another thing and all. We always paid our stamps. Whatever you did, you paid your stamps. Now, when you got married, if you got married before April the 5th, you got all your tax back for a year. And that was money coming back again.
Well, first of all, Colin, you didn't get it all back. You got some of it back because your tax allowance changed because you are now a married man and not a single man. But you didn't get it all back. But do go on.
Well, more or less nearly everything, because none of us paid for the
Well, more or less nearly everything of nothing, isn't it all? Colin, just so that we have the odd fact here and there.
Yeah, well, you weren't around then.
Actually, I was. Colin, you didn't get it all back.
Right, then. You got your marriage allowance back.
Indeed you did.
Right, and then when you had a child, you got money back again for your child. So if you worked, you got rewarded.
Well, that's true, yes.
Thank you. Right, so you got rewarded. Now, this was coming out of that same stamp, what we're all paying for pensions.
Well,
we haven't got enough money coming out of the working class at the time.
Colin, the refund of income tax that you got when your tax code changed didn't come out of your stamp.
No, nothing came out of my stamp.
Sorry, I thought that was what you just said. It must be me.
Sorry, I did.
I thought you had as well, yeah. Well, it's nice that we agree on something.
Come out of your
even
tax.
if it's only that you're bound.
You were
Go
paying
on.
tax. Right. I paid 25 shilling out of £11.15 shilling in 1956.
Yeah.
Right? I got married, and you know how much I finished up paying first?
I have no idea.
15 shillings.
Absolutely no
and
idea.
then it dropped when I had my child to a shilling.
Yeah. Colin,
so in other words, we never paid any tax.
Colin, to save me...
All I'm saying is, Alan, to save you, you're saying about that we are paying for yesterday's, for these what are retired, me, retired today. And I paid for them who
I don't
retired
know what that
yesterday.
sentence meant. Colin, let me tell you something. And you can reject it out of hand by all means, but you're missing out on the opportunity to be right.
Go on,
But you
then.
do that occasionally. The current beneficiaries of welfare benefits, whether they are retirement pension, sickness benefit, or any of the others, the current beneficiaries of welfare benefit are funded by the current taxpayer. The government does not invest in the future in that way.
The government doesn't invest. Well, how do you be
I didn't
careful,
say,
Alan?
Colin,
How do you- hold on a minute. How do you be careful?
Colin, what
We
I
just bought a
Colin,
war on America billions.
Colin, what I said was, and I'd rather you attacked what I said rather than what you heard. What I said was, the government doesn't invest in the future in that way. I was referring to welfare benefits. Welfare benefits are paid from the Exchequer, by the Exchequer, with the resources of taxation now.
Right.
When you get your retirement pension, you are not getting a return of your payments. Your retirement pension entitlement is based upon your payment record, but the money that it's paid with comes from current taxation.
Right. Right, let's get back to one thing here. You know something?
I thought that was the one thing. That was the one thing you began with.
Right, everybody paid the same stamp, men.
No, they don't.
They did.
Sorry, I thought you used the present tense. They
No,
did. You
they
are
do now,
correct.
because that was another big
No,
cost.
excuse me, they don't now. They did then.
Why should we all have different pensions?
Well, let us work through all of that. Why should we all have different pensions?
Yes.
Because some people do not have a full contribution record.
No, like my wife.
Well, I
She
can't
was
do anything. Well, I'm not going to get into individuals because I don't know your wife that well.
Every woman who got married and had children, they told her that she didn't have to pay a national insurance stamp.
They did indeed tell her she doesn't have to, but they also told her that she can if she wants. And if she did so, she would earn a pension in her own right.
Yes,
the
and
majority
you
of
said you would
the
put them
majority the majority of married working women chose not to pay a pension in her own right and to rely on her husband's pension. Some did, the majority did not. In round about 1980, the dates could be wrong, the government changed that so that the choice was no longer available, so that women would in fact have to pay taxes and national insurance in the same way as the men of that period, and would earn benefits in their own right. So it was changed back then. But yes, you are right, they were given the option too. And the phrase was used, opt out of...
Right.
Right, so they paid the married woman's
A lot
stamp.
of them were advised not to. I'll tell you, my wife was.
Well, I'm surprised that you can speak on behalf of 10 million people.
I'll tell you what, some more will come on to you now who've got now ready for, well, we're pension age, and they'll tell you that they were all told.
Colin, I'm perfectly aware of it.
The women were ripped off more than anything.
I'm not altogether sure that ripped off is the term you
Well,
see.
they were because they were badly advised. I would advise them not to do it, but to do the stamp.
Colin, the time we're talking about, many of those women made the decision for themselves because they would prefer to have the 6 and a tanner to spend on food, because wages were crap in those days. That is the reality of it. And maybe they were advised to do that, maybe they were not. I wasn't there, and I wouldn't know what 10 million people were told anyway.
It's like this and all. Then we come out with graduated stupid pension.
Indeed, yes.
That was another con.
Well,
it was supposed to be. Now, then they come out and said, "Oh, if you're a big earner." Now they weren't satisfied with getting capital gains, which were about 90 pence. He got a tanner then out of a pound.
Colin, capital gains has nothing to do with this. Capital gains is paid. Capital gains tax
Yes,
is...
well, that's where you get it from. You're rich. Your capital there is to get money off people who earn over a certain amount.
The sixpence in the pound that you were half referring to was an income tax level, not a capital gains tax
All right,
level.
then, but it's income tax level then. It would, if you earned over a certain amount, you only finished up with a tanner.
Indeed, that is correct, but that had nothing to do with capital gains.
Then another thing, you say you're paying 7 and 6 a week, everybody. So when we retire, right, we were all getting the same pension.
Well, only
so
if...
none of this £80 for the self-employed, £90 for you've done this, and everybody got this same payment. Whatever
Colin,
you said,
the basic state retirement pension is currently the same for everyone who has a full contribution record.
£93.
The state retirement pension is currently the same for everybody who has a full contribution record.
Well, you've been self-employed.
There are then other pensions which one can have. You referred to one, graduated pensions. There was another one called the state earnings related pension. There have been a number of different pensions that were paid according to the amount...
We always get back to this then. So if you earn a bit more, you give it back. Now I come from an house 2 up, 2 down. What's in you back?
Colin, I'm sorry. Colin, I'm sorry. Colin, I'm sorry.
And I've got dollars, 2 family shared in it, and I've worked hard.
Colin, you've worked hard and learnt now by the sound of it.
Let me tell you something
I
now.
don't know what you mean when you say, if you earn a bit more, you give it back. I don't know what that sentence
Well, they
means.
take it off you then.
Okay.
And then you start giving it to lazy buggers, what I've done now.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at.
Thank you. You've got there.
You keep getting out about these people.
Well, no, we've got there now. That's what you're getting at.
I'll tell you what, Alan. I'll tell you something now. And everybody who's listening to me will tell you they're sick of it. They're sick of what they've saved up, and they've got to give it away. They've got you can't even have a penny. You can't even have tuppence. Now it's supposed to be. Bevan said, to the grave. In other words, you're looked after. Now they throw you out of hospital. They throw you into an home. And then they take you, when you've spent all your money up, then they take your house. So you can't leave anything. Years ago, our parents kept and looked for us in the trade union, what you were always on about. When I was a trade union man, we always said, if this factory goes, we've got no employment for us children.
Let me
and it was always
let me
the
just
thing.
say
But you keep saying
say
about
something to you,
businesses.
Colin. Let me just say something to you. One of the worst things to happen to this country of ours, was for a government to sell off council property and to get people to believe that the house they live in is some kind of gift for their children when they're dead. Gary in St Helens. Hiya, Gary.
Hello, is that Alan?
Yeah.
On about all these immigrants coming into this country, taking these jobs, doing these jobs that the unemployed isn't taking in this country.
Go on.
Yeah, well, why can't the unemployed take them jobs that the foreigners are taking? There's loads of jobs out there, and there's, 2 million on the unemployment register now.
Mm.
So why can't they take the jobs?
Well, the government are doing their best, and it's clearly not good enough in some people's eyes, are doing their best to make sure that the unemployed, as you describe them, do take those jobs.
It's obvious. I'm driving around St Helens now. There's people on the streets, regular people, just walking around. They're healthy. They can stand up. They can walk. Why can't they take a job?
Well,
There's regular people walking around doing nothing.
Indeed so. What would you have happen to those people?
Jobs.
Well, yes, but how would you get that to work? What would you do?
Well, first you could tidy the streets up.
Well, no, that's the work they do. How would you get them to do it?
Yeah, no, stop the money. You don't
Stop
get
the
any
money. So-
you don't get money if you don't work.
OK, I understand that. It's a fairly straightforward policy. Here's a question for you. Here's this bloke, never done a day's work in his life. He's got 2 children. You stop his money. What happens next?
You feed the children. You tell the children.
How? How do you feed the children?
Give them food.
How?
Send them food to their own. Morrison's deliver food.
So the government starts to give out food stamps?
Just for the children, yeah.
Just for the children. And when the food goes to the house, the man who's been denied an income by the government will slowly starve to death whilst his children eat, will he? Or will he eat the food as well?
No, food for him as well.
Oh, you're giving him food as well, so you're now going to feed him?
Well, you feed prisoners, don't you?
Yeah. I'm just trying to find a solution. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your plan. I'm just trying to find out how we get people to work who, frankly, there are a good number of them, frankly, will not work. How do you get them to work?
Well, stop them bloody buying these big screen TVs.
How do you do it? You see, how do you do it? You've already said you stop the money. Well, fine, we've got the money stopped. You then stumbled a little bit when you were made to realise that children would have to be fed, and you started then thinking that Morrison's might do special working-class unemployed children runs, which I think is a bit harsh on them, but if the government are paying for the grub, fine. But even that wouldn't work because the parents would eat it. You even at one point hinted, and then realised the error of your ways, that we take the kids into care. You actually started to say you take them off them. It's a problem, isn't it? What do you do with them?
But even Gary Glitter's gone for a job in St Helens now.
Oh, because he doesn't want publicity. They did that about Warrington earlier, but thank you anyway, Gary.
Oh, he's going for the St Helens Council, isn't he?
Oh, I've no idea. I doubt it. 0161 228 2255. Simon says... Simon of Haywood says, just before the news you claim the government is crap at running things. Well, I can only agree to a point. Consider the data file containing prisoner details was lost by a private firm. Prisoners' escorts used to be the purview of the police. Now private security firms are responsible. Most government file stores are run by private companies. The SATS fiasco a few weeks ago was the result of a private American company's mistakes. The government is not actually bad at working things. It simply makes lousy choices when it comes to outsourcing its workload. Now ask yourself, do you think they'd make better choices if they chose to privatise, let us say, the army or the police? It all comes down to money. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys, and the government will always pay as little as possible. Have a great day, Alan. So says Simon. Well, all those things you say are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. The trouble is, what is the alternative? if the government attempts to run things, it ends up with chronic overmanning. It does, because they're too scared. Governments, we remember the days. We remember currently, if an employer is told by the trade union we're going on strike, he says, fine, go on strike, because I can outlast you. Because I'll still be rich. My business might go bust, but I'll still be a millionaire, and you'll go on the dole. With a government, when the government says, like it did with the miners, like it did with the electricity workers, with the transport workers, when all those, like with the post office workers, when all those businesses were nationally owned, they said, well, go on strike. We can outlive you. Hang on a minute. No one will vote for us because the country's at a standstill. We'd better give them what they want. That's the problem with national industries. That's the problem with national industries, that politics decides what they do, not business. 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Faye Rusco.
The family of a South Manchester man killed in a hit-and-run 4 months ago say they're desperate for the driver to give themselves up. 2 taxi drivers have been attacked in separate incidents in Middleton. A knife and what's thought to be CS gas were used in both robberies. And there are concerns that thousands of criminals could sue the government after a private firm working for the Home Office lost a memory stick containing their personal details. Manchester's weather, sunny and cloudy with the odd shower. Highs of 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, the main roads around Manchester this afternoon looking very busy, busier than usual, I must say. The M60 still looking fairly held up between 13 Worsley and 12 Eccles. It's also left traffic fairly slow on the M62 as well. That accident early between junction 13 and junction 12. So at the moment, it's queuing between junction 20 at Rochdale through to 18 Somerset Island. Ian's just been in touch with us on the travel line, so thanks to Ian for your call on that one. If you're using the M6 north or southbound, it's still heavy between 20 at Lymm and 18 at Middlewich. Of course, bank holiday period, so a lot of people are heading out early today. And if you're using the trains as well, major problems at the moment facing Virgin train services alongside First Great Western and cross-country services as well. Delays up to 90 minutes to be expected at London Euston due to a broken down train in the Bletchley area. Don't forget, if you can update me further, why not get in touch if you can on the travel line. The number 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
I think they should jag that train to Rugby, and then we can have our traditional knackering of rugby at bank holiday.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Bill Rice.
Manchester City have completed the signing of Vincent Kompany from Hamburg in the last hour. The Belgian international defender has completed a move to Eastlands for an undisclosed fee. The 22-year-old has signed a 4-year contract, and he could now feature in Sunday's game with West Ham if his clearance comes through in time. Manchester United will have Carlos Tevez available for selection for Monday night's game at Portsmouth. Ryan Giggs could also be fit after picking up a hamstring injury in the draw against Newcastle. Owen Hargreaves will be considered after returning to full training this week. Sir Alex Ferguson has also confirmed that Rio Ferdinand will be the captain of Manchester United one day. That's after he missed out on the England armband this week. The Bolton boss, Gary Megson, says he wants to see more goals this season after being disappointed with their form during the last campaign. The Wanderers scored 3 in their victory over Stoke on Saturday, and they go to Newcastle tomorrow, with Megson wanting much more of the same.
We've spoken about this and told the players, not as individuals in terms of the names, but the position that they play in. That we've told them the amount of goals we expect to come from that position. Now, if one player plays there all season, that's what's expected of him. If 5 do, then they share it out amongst themselves. But we've told them that, our goal scoring last year was nowhere near good enough, and that it needs to improve this year.
And we'll have commentary on that game in the all-new Manchester Sports tomorrow. Jim Gannon is disappointed that Derby County didn't give Stockport the first option on re-signing striker Liam Dickinson on loan. The former county striker has now joined Huddersfield for a month.
I would like Derby considered letting him come to us, but I think he's gone there because Derby would like him to play in a front two. and they're a big side. It's a good challenge for Liam, and I'm just glad he wasn't playing against us, but we'll just have to see how he does well there, because obviously it was a huge step for him going to Derby, and maybe he needs to find his feet in the First Division and bounce back to the Championship.
Stockport go to Hartlepool tomorrow, and Oldham are at home against Cheltenham. In League 2, Macclesfield visit Accrington Stanley, and Bury are at home against Morecambe, while Rochdale make the trip across the Pennines to face an unbeaten Bradford side. We'll have the best coverage of all the matches in the all-new Manchester Sports from 1 o'clock. At the Olympic Games, Heather Fell is the latest Briton to pick up a medal. She won silver in the modern pentathlon. Tim Brabants won Britain's 18th gold this morning. He was the fastest man in the men's 1,000-metre kayak. Boxer James DeGale has beaten Darren Sutherland in his semi-final. He'll now fight for gold or silver. Tony Jeffries and David Price are both fighting in their semi-finals this afternoon. They're both guaranteed at least bronze medals. Manchester's Aaron Cook was denied the chance to fight for Taekwondo gold, though, by a refereeing mistake. That's according to his coach, Nelson Miller. He also lost the bronze medal fight, so he'll come home without a medal. The men's 4x400-metre relay team are through, though, to tomorrow's final. England's one-day series with South Africa begins this afternoon at Headingley, and Steve Harmison is expected to be in the side after coming out of one-day retirement. Andrew Flintoff says that Kevin Peterson's captaincy is already having an impact.
He's taken all the things that make him, the fine player he is, his confidence, his single-mindedness, aggression, into the captaincy. I think that's had an effect on the side, especially in the test format in the last one. And I think we need that now in these one-day games. I think for a long time England have underperformed in the one-day game, and hopefully now's the time to address that under Kevin.
Lancashire are facing defeat in their county championship match with Kent, though. It's just underway after lunch on day 3, and BBC Radio Manchester's Chris Malaband is at the St Lawrence Ground in Canterbury. Well, we can't go to Chris right now, but I can tell you that you can listen to ball-by-ball commentary of that game on our website. That's at bbc.co.uk/Manchester. Wigan's push for a playoff place faces a tough test tonight when they meet the Leeds Rhinos in the Super League. Warriors coach Brian Noble has a plan to stop the opposition.
There's certain things they can do to you if you let them that can make the scoreline 30, 35 points difference. They've got some really, really good world-class players. It's important that we get into an arm wrestling. It's important that we're vigorous with Leeds, and it's important that we don't let them be vigorous with us.
And we'll have full match commentary of the game tonight in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. And there's plenty of new signings on show for the Sale Sharks. Doubleheader at Edgeley Park tonight. Matthew Tate, Dwayne Peel and Luke Abraham will all start against Leeds. Nick McLeod's on the bench, and Andy Tuolangi plays against Sedgley Park at 6 o'clock.
Life and laughs with Eamon and Jimmy.
Val Dunican! You can't get any more different to Mohammed Ali than Val flipping Dunican. Oh, Delaney had. Hang on, I'm doing a Val Dunican song for you. We're giving you a quick burst of Delaney's Donkey Girl. What's all? Walk straight and look the world right in. It's just like he's in the room, isn't it? It's just like he's in the room.
I'll be coming for his autograph in a bit.
Eamon and Jimmy.
We've built a bar in the house now because we have that many visitors.
I'll be on the next plane now you've said that. Oh, you're our type of girl, Claire.
It opens onto the patio, so I've called it patios.
If your radio sounds funny on Sunday morning, you must be listening to Eamon O'Neill and Jimmy Wagg.
We don't do serious stuff.
Sunday morning from 9.
At BBC Radio Manchester.
Yeah, and they don't do it well. No, we don't do... Think about it. We don't do serious stuff, and they don't do it well. That's complimentary, isn't it? You see? Just sounded rude. It's not like me at all. It's coming up to 10 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. David says, hey, there's nothing wrong with making a profit. No. What is wrong is when our fuel companies put their heads together, take turns as to who is to announce massive price increases, only to be followed by the rest. I think it's called a cartel. Cartels are illegal, David, and they're not doing that. They wouldn't. As I have for years supported cancer research, how come when a company makes a breakthrough, they seem to want to screw the NHS? Well, of course, the people who screw the NHS are the pharmaceutical companies with their developments, not necessarily funded by cancer research. Cancer research steps forward, as it were, are not then used to rip off the NHS. But certainly companies companies that develop these drugs take a lot of money from the NHS. Whether they're ripping them off or not is for others to decide. Andy in Hazel Grove makes a good point via email. All this publicity about Gary Glitter has made me think. In England, there are over 3,500 births a year to between 13 and 15-year-old girls. And let's be honest, it takes 9 months to reach that point. There are also well over 5,000 abortions a year for the same group. So in theory, there should be nearly 9,000 cases of sex with a minor. Does anyone get charged, asks Andy? Does anyone get prosecuted? Does anyone have to sign a register? Is it one law for some people and a different law for others? It's all very strange. I suppose the point... Well, first of all, it is an offence. 13-year-old girl has sex with anybody, it's an offence. Even if the boy is 13 years of age, it's still an offence. But if it is a boy of the same age, the Crown Prosecution Service most often deems that there's nothing to be gained from a prosecution. Fair enough. That's the point of view. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't know. Henry in Prestbury, having just heard on your traffic broadcast the terrible disruption the Gay Pride Parade is creating, I offer my solution. It would be more beneficial to the general public and business sector of Manchester to raise this so-called village to the ground instead of letting this prime city centre location develop further into a ghetto full of drinking dens for the homosexual element of society. What could be more beneficial for Manchester's reputation as business and retail capital of the North than to see happy families and well-dressed business professionals walking the streets of a fine new modern development in the heart of the city, instead of the gaudily dressed individuals who now parade this area with bottles of lager and wine glasses stuck to their lips, taking part in their rowdy behaviour in perpetuity. This opportunity for Manchester's future development as a first-class city should not be abandoned for the sake of keeping a scruffy ghetto area for the minority community which now inhabit it. Their integration into normal society would be more beneficial for all concerned. Then maybe I could take my family to visit an area which I could freely walk with my parents when I was a young child. Well, Henry, you can walk freely in what is called the village. It's one of the safest parts of the city centre. And if you don't like the cut of their jib, if you don't like the clothes they wear, well, that's fine. They're not asking you to like them. People entitled to wear what they like. Quite frankly, I might not like what you wear. I'm actually in London tomorrow, and as part of my duty in London, I'm down there working, as part of my duty, I've got to go for a meal in a posh restaurant. I hasten to add that somebody else is paying, but I'm going for a meal in a posh restaurant. And one of the people who will be at the meal said, will I have to wear a tie? You see, all areas have their silly rules. And the answer was no. But if the answer had been yes, I wouldn't have gone to the bloody meal, because I don't go to places where they make you wear ties, because, frankly, I don't want to share my time with such half-wits. We all have our strange rules about clothing, our strange views of clothing. Frankly, I would far sooner see some gay bloke in a fedora than I would see some heterosexual bloke wandering about in short pants, like the garmless prat he looks. And the only thing I can think of that makes a grown man look more stupid than short pants are those pants that are neither short nor long, those that flap about just below the knee. What sort of a cretin goes out like that voluntarily? We should go along with Bodician-like blades on the sides of our cars set to the height of the trouser leg, and take 'em off just below the knee and say, there you are, stump about, you useless cretin. So, you see, you can have trenchant views about dress, but frankly, if I, personally, I must have gone for a meal or a drink in the village about twice in my life, and on each occasion thought, this isn't for me, and I've left. But similarly, I've gone for a drink in the Labour Club and thought, frankly, this isn't for me, and left. It's not yet compulsory that you go for entertainment in the village. I don't know why they call it a village. It's one rather boring street, in my view, but there you are. And even half of that's a canal. So I don't know what all the fuss is about, but the idea that we should raise it and build some glass monstrosity so that middle-class men could strut about with their overly made-up wives and their 2.4 children, presumably eating lettuce leaves and the occasional burger, for God's sake. Whatever happened to live and let live? Or hasn't it got to Pressbury yet? Certainly not to your beat.
Allan Beswick, BBC Radio Manchester.
You'll be telling me next that we should all go and watch football. Bloody hell. Ted in Moston. I'll tell you why it matters. He's on about immigration. Unusual for him. I'll tell you why it matters. For a start, the United Kingdom is massively overpopulated. We should only have about 30 million people. Another point is the British people will become a minority in their native land within 50 years. Additionally, we have a race crisis on our doorstep. Senior anonymous Labour cabinet minister said that the only reason Enoch Powell's prophecies haven't been fulfilled is because the economy has been relatively stable for 50 years, but warned that as soon as it went into recession, it would set off. Uncontrolled immigration is a curse. The longer it goes on, the harder it will be to remove the immigrants, which will be hard for them because it wasn't their fault. I don't blame immigrants, I blame the politicians who brought them here. Another problem is Islam. Not necessarily individual Muslims, but the extreme sects like the Wahhabi Islam, who originated in Saudi Arabia. I'm not worried by mosques popping up everywhere. I see it as a symptom of a disease. And that disease is the far left which infects this country. The far left is the most intolerant, oppressive and hypocritical political position in existence, says Ted in Moston. Oh, do come off the fence, lad. Look, if the population should be 30 million, we're told it's somewhere in the region of 60 million. Why don't we just kill half? Where do you think we should start? Well, I've got a list. Oh, God, I've got a list as long as me arm. 01612282255. I'm not reading that out, Kevin. I don't care what you say. It's not even that funny. I think... No, this isn't me. I'm just reading this out from Steve in Chorlton. I think what should happen when energy prices increase is that the suppliers should read the meters, or at least attempt to, so that the energy used from the increased date period is charged at the new rate. I appreciate it would be a logistical nightmare, but that's the supplier's problem. I wondered if you'd seen or heard of this situation when power suppliers raise their prices. I personally am on a dual fuel tariff, no standing charge, so I pay a higher rate for the first X number of units than a lower price for units after that. Imagine this scenario. Electricity is charged at 10 pence per unit for the first 225 units and 5 pence for units after. The billing period is May, July inclusive. The price of electricity rises to 12p for the first 225 units and then 6p thereafter. The increase happens on the 15th of July. At the end of the billing period, you see that you have used 400 units. I've seen the first 225 units are split, e.g. 150 at 10, 75 at 12. The remaining units are... Are you making notes? Because we're asking questions later. This is wrong, right? That's what he says. This is wrong, right? I do like that. It's a good sentence. If the company puts its prices up on July the 15th, then the first 225 units should be charged at 10p and not split, because, in effect, they're backdating the increase. Is this legal? Well, the answer to the question, is this legal, Steve, in Charlton, is, yeah, it is. And in fact, if you think about it, if you're one of those people that pays an electricity bill in the normal way, then actually you're getting a free loan off them. But I don't see you mentioning that. Well, you are, because you're using the electricity and paying for it afterwards. You don't do that in many other places. You try going to Sainsbury's and taking a tin of beans home and saying, I'll bring the money in when I vet them. I'll be all right. No, it doesn't work like that. Oh, no. No. Try it with anything. Try it with your car insurance. Say, well, look, I'll pay you at the end of the year. Yes. When I've used it. No, they won't have that. Try it with your rates. Don't try it with the television licence. I need the money. No, we pay for things. Generally, we pay for things in advance. But we don't pay for gas in advance unless we're really, really poor, and then we pay by prepayment meter, and we pay twice as much as everybody else, because we all know we are a country that specialises in robbing the poor and making sure the fat rich get it all. But that's the way it is. We used to have socialism, and now we have something else, which just means the rich get rich and the poor get poorer. And apparently, all we get is the blame. No matter. Back here tomorrow, early doors, and then on Tuesday, bank holiday Monday. I'm not bloody working then. Ta-da now!
Tonight from 7, join me, Jack Dearden, live at the JJB Stadium.